everybody, and I am Mike Rains, aka Poker and Politics, and welcome to another episode of Adventures in HellwQrld. I am joined as always by Sarge.
Hello, you nasty weirdos.
And the mysterious L.
Hello, my beautiful babies.
Nasty weirdos is I'm trying something new.
I felt it. I feel like you workshopped that. You may have ran it by your partner a couple times. You may have had a short list, and that was what you went with this week. So I mean, I can't wait over the course of the next 3 or 4 weeks to see your aggressive attempt at finding a catchphrase on the level of beautiful babies, but probably not getting there.
I wanted to try something new. Wow. I should do the whole show in that bad fake Mrs. Doubtfire voice. JFK Jr.
So this week, we play the content warning always because we never know where we're gonna go. But this week, it feels aggressively like we're aiming towards the silly side of QAnon instead of the dark side of QAnon. But in case we actually go to the dark side, here's the content warning.
Content warning: the Adventures in HellwQrld podcast talks in depth about QAnon, which means we have to talk about all kinds of child abuse and violence against people. Listener discretion advised.
So is your implication that the return of a zombified JFK Jr. the sillier side of QAnon? Is this not part of the mainstream QAnon canon? The fact that JFK Jr. is not dead and is coming back anytime now, and in fact, we've poured over the data and we know that he's going to show up on this day at this time on the Grassy Knoll. Why the fuck would he show up on the Grassy Knoll? That's JFK. That's JFK Jr. or that's JFK Senior's territory.
Yeah. Why did he not come ashore on the beaches of Cape Cod? I mean, that's that's where his plane went down. I mean,
or just successfully land a phantom plane. Just on the tarmac or whatever, oh, we have an unrecognized aircraft. What the fuck is going on here? And it just touches down. What the hell was the name of that? What was that show? Was it called Turbulence? I can't remember the actual name of that TV show about the plane that goes up and then disappears for 6 years or whatever, and then touches down later, and everyone's just you guys vanished, and now you're back.
Not the layover. That'd be too cool.
I think it was called we called it Timebulance because of time turbulence, but I can't remember what it was actually called.
Yeah. We're gonna work with Turbulence until Sarge sneaks away and Googles the actual name of it. But this was one of the weirdest things, and because my view of QAnon has been towards quote unquote the serious manifest. Okay, there you go. Because I generally deal with the people that are hate the JFK Jr. crew. I had known of the guy named Whiplash, who also has a dumb number attached to his name. He's Whiplash 38 or something. But I had never heard of -48 until this thing got out of hand, and he's big. I mean, he has a 6-figure follower group on Telegram, and he is a hardcore gematria lunatic, which, if you don't know what that is, it's literally just this thing where you convert. It's an old Jewish tradition where you convert words into numbers, and you can literally make anything mean anything if you just work it right. You can make any phrase equal to another phrase that is terrifying, bad, and scary.
All right.
And and basically they somehow, some way came up with the belief that yesterday in Dealey Plaza, the site of the assassination of JFK Sr., as it were, JFK Jr. was going to appear from the Grassy Knoll. Was he going to descend via a rocket pack? Was he going to burst out of the Earth's crust? Was he going to manifest as a being of pure energy that took human form? Exactly.
The answer to all of those questions and more after we remember to play our news bump.
Fair.
From the digital headlines to the digital front lines, it's Q's in the news.
I was wondering if I thought I was going to say yes to all of them because it sounded
yes. No, he's going to run in like the Undertaker at WWE. So real quick,
if he's going to run it like anybody, it should be the Ultimate Warrior, right?
Yes.
I just, like everyone's just waiting by the grassy knoll and like they're all looking like north or whatever, and then from the south, there's just like a JFK Jr. just comes charging up the street. That'd be great. Everybody's super hype.
So as of recording yesterday, hundreds, do we have any numbers? We'll say at least hundreds of dum-dums gathered at Dealey Plaza, QAnons, waiting for the actual return of JFK Jr. Fairly well documented on Twitter and different news outlets. Sorry to say he didn't show because he died in 1991 when his plane crashed in the ocean.
Or did he show? Maybe he showed up and nobody recognized him
secretly.
Because he's been like dead allegedly for 25 years or whatever.
So Mike, how did we get here? How did like we've talked about it on the bonus material and I think on the pod before. How did QAnon come to fetishize JFK Jr. so much?
Okay, so the direct JFK Jr. stuff comes from the fact that on one of Q's many breaks that he took, because saving the world's a part-time job, another troll on the Chan boards jumped in with going by the tag of R, and R made it pretty clear that he was JFK Jr. the whole time, and so that got that little bug into the movement where it was like, oh man, like JFK Jr. is like talking to us and stuff like that. But the thing that happened with JFK Jr. was in the actual Q drops was that in Q drop 1082, Q made it clear that Hillary killed JFK Jr. to prevent him from running against her to take her Senate seat in New York that she was then going to use to springboard herself to the presidency. So the Q drop itself says POTUS and JFK Jr. relationship, plane crash 1999, HRC Senate 2000, the quotation marks start, enjoy the show, Q. So basically, JFK Jr. gets murdered by Hillary, and that's the moment when Donald Trump's ears perk up like a dog hearing something scary, and he's like, wait a minute, something ain't right here. And that's what leads Trump down the path to finding out what he needs to do to stop Hillary, because his buddy John got dropped by the deep state.
I mean, he was a Kennedy, so he's almost certainly a Democrat. Also, JFK Jr. never held elected office, and I don't know if he had any intentions to run, but he never did in his life.
Right.
So.
Yeah, this is all fan fiction, and what you just said is something that everyone always brings up all the time about JFK Jr. was a Democrat. His dad was a Democrat. Then people are like, why does QAnon fetishize these people? Why do they love them so much? And the answer is that Kennedy was murdered by the deep state. This default makes him a good guy, period.
That kind of makes sense. In a very dumb, flat earth kind of way, that makes sense.
Hey, here's my hot take on it, right? Let me throw this one by you. They like the Kennedys because literally no one is whiter than the Kennedys. If you have to imagine like a white American in your head, like you're probably imagining a Kennedy. Not necessarily one of the named Kennedys, but the waspy person that you're imagining in your head. Like, I feel like it's a coin flip, right? When someone's just like, hey, like if you go across the world, you're just like, picture a white American. I feel like you're probably either going to get somebody who's picturing something that looks very Kennedy-esque or something that looks very much like a trailer park boy, right? Just like some fat, slovenly idiot wearing like a Confederate flag hat, which is great because those are the people that QAnon would actually be worshiping. But even in their own minds, they're just like, oh God, the Kennedys.
They're almost all dead, so they can't ever talk back at QAnon and tell them they're idiots. So they all just they get to say, oh, they would support us and we love them.
Hey, they're almost all dead asterisks. We don't know.
Yeah, sorry.
JFK Jr. could come charging down your street at any moment.
Start hitting you some shoulder blocks, some running tackles, get ready for that press slam, just dump you in the room.
So that's my vote. I think he was going to charge in WWE style. How do you think he was going to appear?
I think he did appear, but I think he was just like sitting on a bench.
Oh, Darkman style?
No, Steve Rogers in Endgame style.
Oh,
I think he was just there on a bench waiting for people to get excited that he was around, but nobody recognized him because he's just an old man now. like how old was he when he died, right? Like that dude was no spring chicken. He was in his 30s or 40s or whatever.
Yeah, he was 38 when he died, so he'd be 60. Yeah, he'd be 60. No, 70 today.
I'm imagining it's like one person like sees old man JFK Jr. sitting on a park bench at Dealey Plaza, and they run over to them and they're like, "You have to run for president. You have to save America." And he's just like, "Nope, I don't think I will." And he's just like, "I'm done with you people. You're all morons."
Yeah, and then he passes, and then he pulls out like a duffel bag or whatever, and passes like a big shield to like some QAnon idiot, and they're just like, "What the fuck?"
Just a badly made cardboard cue.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here, it's yours now.
You get the burden of it.
Yeah.
It's the bell from the White Squall boat. He just like passes him that
shitty little bell. Oh my god.
Oh, that'd be
great.
so perfect.
White Squall.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is everything. Oh man. So,
Did the Dum Dums have a consensus on how he would appear?
They really didn't, and there was also some talk that if he didn't appear at Dealey Plaza, that he was going to appear at a Rolling Stones concert later that night. So there was
What?
a lot. Yes.
What?
Yes.
Why? Why would he show up in either place? One was where his father was unceremoniously assassinated right next to his mother. That doesn't make any sense why he would ever appear there. That seems like an ill omen. I know it's probably, they say, just like spit in the face of the deep state, but it doesn't make any sense at the bottom of a pile of things that don't make any sense. And then
it would make sense if Mick Jagger pulls off his face Mission Impossible style to reveal that he has secretly been JFK Jr. for the past 25 years.
I think you mean Darkman style. Let's keep the references together.
You keep referencing Darkman. I haven't referenced Darkman a single time this week.
I have once. That's the second time. You had the opportunity to stay with my Darkman.
You have to carry your own Darkman burden. If you want to reference Darkman for the whole show, you have to do it. That's my gimmick typically, but I'm allowing you to use the gimmick of just constantly referencing one stupid thing until you beat it into the ground. We'll make our audience fucking love the reference if you just keep repeating it. Remember that whole episode I did with Music Man references? That was great.
Yeah. I don't remember how long Darkman faces last for. Damn it. It's not long.
Yeah, so JFK Jr. did not appear, and this led to a lot of consternation for both those who were believing that he was going to show up, and also for the QAnon people who hate this shit and just they hate the fact that this is part of their movement because it's such an obvious thing to get dunked on by the media, because when you hang out in Dealey Plaza for 7 hours waiting for JFK Jr. to manifest when he obviously won't, it's a real easy way for you to be painted in a negative light as being people that are
what?
Yeah. As for being painted as people who aren't totally with it and might be something you might want to not listen to because they're preaching bullshit.
I watched the crazy video on Twitter, the 2 minutes of that woman wearing the crazy ass hat and wig, explaining why JFK Jr. was going to appear, and she dipped into some sovereign citizen shit real quick about how we hadn't had a real president since 1871 or whatever.
Yep, that's the public. That's the Origins Act of 1871, the thing that literally quote unquote incorporated Washington D.C. But when you read that word, you think of one thing, but that actually just sort of meant make this municipality more manageable for us because the District of Columbia is a weird non-state thing, but someone has to run it, and this is what we're doing. It was not actually selling Washington D.C. to the British crown and all this
Yeah,
other shit that these people believe. And
I got to try and explain Sovereign Citizen to my partner, and I was just like, oh God, I don't know a ton about this. It's all wacky and it's very hard to keep straight.
Yeah. And so on the one hand, you had the quote unquote serious QAnon getting very angry and being like, look, idiots, this is what happens when you go to Dealey Plaza looking for JFK Jr. You make us all look like dum-dums. Stop doing it. Stop buying into this stupid shit. Stick to the stuff that we have rock hard, absolute certified proof of, which is the election fraud.
They're just like, guys, everyone takes us so seriously. We don't want to finally give them an avenue to be able to mock us.
Yes, exactly.
Don't be the domino that starts our lack of credibility.
Yes, don't bring us down while we're sticking household keys to our arms, claiming we're magnetized, or bringing up for the 1 millionth time that Joan Rivers said that Michelle Obama was a man and then died a few weeks later, which is obvious proof that she was silenced for giving out the secret truth. And all that stuff, yeah, like stick to those things, stick to the real logical stuff, not the JFK Jr. shit. And then you had the JFK Jr. truthers who couldn't believe that John Donne didn't rise from his grave, and they like I actually saw that people talking about how God is testing our faith by not bringing back JFK Jr. On this very day, and getting into the whole none shall know the hour bullshit when it comes to these kinds of payoffs. But my favorite reaction of all the various people screaming and yelling about this was our boy QAnon John, the guy who runs all these QAnon conventions and shit. QAnon John said, think about this for a second. If JFK Jr. is indeed alive, then simple logic dictates that he would never come out publicly. He simply can't, at least not as JFK Jr., especially not announcing beforehand. That would be the worst possible move and go completely against military precision. I believe this is common sense, with common sense in all caps. He would be the biggest deep state target in history. I just love that QAnon John can't put his foot down, that he literally has to try to straddle the hot button issue of JFK Jr. being alive or dead. And he's not going to give either side a satisfactory answer. He's going to play it down the middle and take a wait and see approach on JFK Jr. Being among us or not being among us.
Pretty sus.
It could go either way.
You could go either way.
Oh my God. And so do we have any rough numbers? Does anyone know how many dum-dums actually showed up? It looked like hundreds.
Yeah, that would be my ballpark estimate. Would be like 300 or so people were in Dealey Plaza for that nonsense. I don't know how many of them actually went to the concert after the fact, because again, you probably needed tickets to get into that, and that's one of the reasons why I think these idiots did the whole Dealey Plaza thing, because it's just a public place where anyone can go and congregate. And
was there any savvy grifter there selling JFK Jr. returns merch?
Oh, there really should have been. There had to be somebody who got a lightning-like print run of something done, or had Trump JFK Jr. 2024 shirts. I mean, you got to have something to get in and collect money, because, like,
how many JFK Jr. candles could we have sold? We could retire on JFK Jr. candles right now if we had just been there.
And JFK Jr. coins, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. I like to imagine that there was some like hot dog vendor there, just like selling hot dogs, and somebody was just like, "Hey man, what's up with the hot dogs? Like, seems kind of in poor taste." And then he's just like, "JFK Jr. loved hot dogs," and the QAnon idiots are just like, "Oh, then I'll take 6. Give me all of your hot dogs."
I'll take them
because we don't know a fucking thing about JFK Jr. We just know that he's supposed to come back, and we're excited.
Yeah.
Oh man, just selling toy planes or something.
It is such a really, I mean, it's such a bizarre thing all around, but like Dealey Plaza itself is just like a haven for like weirdo grifters who have newsletters about the Kennedy assassination and all that kind of stuff. So it had to be really funny to like have those people seeing these lunatics literally working their side of the street, like rushing into this. They're like, hey, come on, I'm trying to sell people on the Grassy Knoll and have them buy this shit about how Pappy Bush shot JFK. What the fuck are you doing? Why is everyone here? No, it's not about his son. It's about the dad. Give me my $5 for my newsletter. I mean, I just love the idea of having these like just small-time grifters who live in Dallas, and this is how they make a quick buck, just getting aggressively big-footed by lunatic QAnon promoters, just rushing an army of people in the Dealey Plaza to wait for JFK Jr. to Gandalf the White Us and just like materialize in his flowing robes and his staff. And the light of the sun just beaming upon everybody as their hero strides upon the earth once more. And there was even some stuff that was on Telegram where JFK Jr. was going to announce that Trump was the president once again. The whole devolution thing is true and real. And now we're going to reveal it that Trump suspended the Constitution, which is something presidents can totally do. And now that he's revealed,
I read that. I learned that in 4th grade. They could just say no, it's not. It doesn't apply anymore.
Yes. Any Kennedy can do that. It turns out.
Oh wow!
Yes.
Oh, it's a Kennedy. It's a racial power of the Kennedys. Okay,
yeah, I see. That's why they had to nerf Kennedys in 3.5 because they as a class were entirely too strong. I mean, like
they came out.
Like QAnon is really excited for JFK Jr. not being dead because when he rolled his character, he was still playing the old edition.
Yes.
He has all of his broken powers and everything.
Kennedys originally came out. They originally came out in an expansion book. It wasn't really play tested all that well. They gave him those Constitution nullifying powers. Did not think that one through.
Right.
Yeah. This month's Unearthed Arcana was Unearthed Arcana : Kennedys.
Yes.
That's a joke for my D&D fans out there.
Yeah. Boom.
Is it?
I have a question. I have a question that Mike Raines could almost certainly answer. Is the book depository still there?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so, but before you go into whatever Kennedy-related riff you're going to, allow me to finish my bit. So, considering that the book depository is still there, if QAnon supporters love JFK Jr. because they love JFK Sr. because JFK Sr. was killed by the deep state, wouldn't the last place you want to go is Dealey Plaza? Like, right next to a book repository that's still there? Like, Nick, could you picture a better place for a deep state operation to kill a bunch of QAnon supporters to go down?
Yeah, it's really weird. I just looked at that thing and I'm just like, this is so bizarre that they would like go there and that they would treat this place where the president got murdered and he's their second favorite president behind Trump. And they're just like, we're going to go to his murder site for our celebration, which is just kind of depraved. It's really weird. The thing I have yet to make my pilgrimage to Dealey Plaza, but I plan on doing that sometime soon. But I've had friends like send me photos, and it's so weird because you basically have modern Dallas everywhere around it, and then when you just get to Dealey Plaza, it's the way Dealey Plaza was set up exactly the same way as it was in 1963. It's just this weird slice of unmoving history in the middle of this modern city.
Exactly how it was, including with the big X's on the street.
Yes.
and I'm sure that when Kennedy was driving up to, like, in his motorcade, he was just like, hey, nothing, but what's the deal with those big X's? They're just like, don't worry about it, Mr. President. He's like, all right, cool.
Yeah. What's funny about the X's is that the city, for a period of time, the city would get rid of them, and then the people or person who was doing them would just replace them, and it just got to the point where the city gave up. So we don't actually know for totally really reals if that X is exactly where Kennedy was seated when he was shot in the head, but it's something that someone was really adamant about, and so now that X is like was a big part of like the Dealey Plaza experience. That was the exact spot that JFK was where he was when he was fatally shot.
Yeah, and you don't see it very often because there's just not a lot of photos from the right angle. But if you go to the backside of the Grassy Knoll, there's like a hastily scrawled X there too. Conspiracy theorists keep going out there, and every time the city like wipes it away, like some lunatic comes out there with like a little paint roller. It's just like, no, this is where it happened.
So what they don't know, JFK Jr. coming back would trigger the return of JFK Sr., but then that would also trigger Oswald and then Ruby coming back. We don't want this, people. It will be a nonstop returning of names that like me and Mike and like 100 other weirdos know.
I think there's plenty of Americans who know Oswald and Ruby and all those.
Yeah, Oswald and Ruby, but we could get it. You've covered them. We could get into some esoteric shit like Badge Man and like the Umbrella Guy, and
the Three Tramps. Oh yeah, I could just watch the engagement of this podcast go down a cliff.
That's why we banished you to the bonus material. With that
exactly. It's like, oh no, he's on one of his Jags. Abort! Get out! Skip forward until L makes a reference, and we know we're safe again. But yeah, it is really, it's so strange that this was where the grifters were like, yeah, go here, go to like, this would be like some weirdo being like, the great-great-grandson of Abraham Lincoln is going to reappear and declare Trump to be the president. Everyone quick, rush to Ford's Theater. Everybody just pile in and just look towards the presidential box where Lincoln got shot in the head, and his great-great-grandkid is just going to like jump out of the chair and start cheering.
Some dumb 8chan LARPer is why we have this, and if he had just chosen like a much cooler president, an actual president like Lincoln, we could have had a whole different thing. But because he had to do someone that could plausibly still exist, we're stuck with JFK Jr.
I think that JFK was always going to be the focal point of this bullshit because the JFK conspiracy has been around literally since they declared JFK to be dead. I mean, like the first ever, I don't know exactly when it was. It was probably like a month after the assassination. But like the first ever poll of the American public of like what happened, a majority said it was a conspiracy, and and it has never dipped. Lone Gunman has never beaten conspiracy in a poll that was taken by a reputable polling source in the history of America. So we're going on like 60 odd years now of Americans believing that Kennedy was murdered by a conspiracy. So that is the lowest hanging fruit when it comes to roping somebody into bullshit like QAnon, is just being like, hey, this QAnon stuff, it's really interesting, you should get into it. And someone's like, I've heard it's all bullshit. They're like, do you know who really killed Kennedy? And the person's like, well, now you've got my attention. Who? And that's the thing. Like that's one of the hooks that like QAnon throws out there to ensnare people. And because everyone buys into that shit, it's a real easy way to lure people in. I mean, it's way more socially acceptable to believe in a conspiracy to kill JFK than like the moon landing being faked or 9/11 trutherism or any of that shit.
Well, much like Darkman, I think we've stayed in this bit too long and our face is melting off. So on to something else.
That was weak. Try do it better.
The face, much like Darkman, the face of this bit has melted off. So now on to something different. Still not good. I'll work on it. So I hear our president, our actual legal president, Joe Biden, pooped himself, and I don't think that's true, but QAnon sure does.
This was a very weird thing that came up from a single tweet that I found from a woman, I believe it's the wife of Jerry Tartanian, who was the longtime basketball coach of UNLV. And the Tartanians are Republicans who have been I believe their son has tried to run for office in Nevada a bunch of times and has had very limited success in this endeavor. But she made a post about how The rumor going around the Vatican is that Joe Biden shit himself while he was in audience with the Pope. And that is why his meeting with the Pope went so long, is they had to hide him crapping himself and sneak him in some new clothes. And now America is more of a laughingstock than it ever was before, because now we have our president who can't control his bowels. And then this became just such a wonderfully hilarious story to QAnon. They couldn't stop running with it. And right-wing grifter, idiot, cat turd started pushing hashtags like Poopy Pants Biden or Poopgate or whatever, and Russian bots and everybody else pushed all of this crap like right into the trending now on Twitter. And boy, were they all really... They were so pleased with themselves. They were so excited that they had gotten this fictional story that was literally one dumb tweet from a person that was now being promoted by just random grifters. And it became just a way to get yourself some attention on the right wing in America, was by going on social media and being like, look, I don't know who started this crappy rumor that Joe Biden pooped himself. It seems like a really shitty thing to say about our president, just doing the whole like song and dance with the rim shot. And if I were making these jokes, there'd be a waka waka thrown in there. It was just this alternate reality that you're living in, where you see people posting messages like Biden crapped himself, let's go Brandon. And if you're a normal person who doesn't have internet poisoning, you're just reading this shit and you're just like, what are you saying? When did Biden shit himself? When did that happen?
Yeah.
What does let's go Brandon mean? Like, I mean,
I also had to look that one up.
I've said this before about QAnon, but it gets more true every like month or so. They just become more and more like the Temerians in that episode of Star Trek, where they're just speaking metaphorical gibberish, and if you don't have any basis of reference for the shit they're saying, they just sound incoherent. They sound totally like they don't even sound like they're speaking English. They're speaking like just QAnon, which is this new language that only they understand, which for me is a good thing, because the more incomprehensible and incoherent they are, the harder it is for them to recruit people. I mean, the basic story of QAnon when it started was Hillary Clinton has broken a lot of laws, she's corrupt, we don't like her, and now she's about to face justice. And so is her friends, John Podesta and Huma Abedin, who are also involved in Hillary's criminality. And you've gone from like that very easy to explain story to Biden crapped himself, let's go Brandon, JFK Jr. will appear at the Grassy Knoll. And it's just like, man, the message discipline of QAnon has now become a bit lacking, as it were, as it keeps going on and on.
Yeah.
I want to grab these idiots by the shoulders, or more specifically, I want to sit them down across from a table with me, and they're going to be like, Biden, Sleepy Joe pooped himself, like, and they push those chips into the middle, and then I'm just like, okay, I will be raising first. I will call your poop pants narrative with my P-tape narrative.
Yeah.
And then I will raise you with this sweet video evidence of your president being unable to navigate a ramp that is provable because we have it on camera.
Also, him paying multiple sex workers to have affairs with him, like that we just know. Like,
I mean, that's irrelevant to the conversation. It's relevant to the conversation of Trump being a piece of shit. But it's like the conversation for, oh, Joe Biden is so old, he pooped himself. That's great. And it's just like, okay, if we want to talk about our presidential candidates being old men, like, and their bodily functions, like my P-tape narrative, like no cells, your poop narrative. And then on top of that, I have Donald Trump can't navigate a ramp. Like, I have video evidence of that second one. And also, like, that's discounting the fact that, you know, the source for the alleged P-tape is much better than this random Twitter person. Like,
yeah, and then there was a rumor going around about Trump shitting himself more than once. I'm fairly certain.
I mean, look, we've all shit ourselves.
Yeah.
It's just a fact.
Yeah, and if you have, what does it matter? Like, people get sick, and sometimes stuff happens. It just absolutely doesn't happen. And L's point stands. Like, if that's true, then by that same logic, the P tape is true. And that, like, if the P tape's true, a foreign enemy government has it. It had blackmail against our president.
They just love talking about how hyper masculine and totally with it Donald Trump is, when it's like incredibly clear that he is not either of those things. To the point, like they're just like there's so many of those photoshops of Donald Trump's head on like a ripped Jesus body or a Rambo body or something. And you know why? Because actual photos of the man are not masculine or manly at all. Because he's just like a stack of mashed potatoes crammed into a blue suit with like a horrible hairdo. Like, but you know, they're just looking for any, like, simultaneously photoshopping Donald Trump's head onto Rambo's body while just being like, Sleepy Joe Biden's such a doddering old man. He's pooping his pants. And it's just like, yeah, man, I could Photoshop Joe Biden's face onto Rambo too. That doesn't make him Rambo.
Yeah, I literally jumped over to Snopes, and they're like, "This is false. Like, Biden didn't poop his pants." And the final paragraph of the Snopes article. Biden, of course, is not the only president to have unflattering and untrue rumors shred about his bodily functions on social media. Social media users previously claimed that the former president, Donald Trump, had pooped his pants on the golf course. This rumor was based on a fake photo. That he had peed his pants before or during a public appearance in Tennessee. Real photo, misrepresented. And that he had once worn his pants backwards. This claim was based on seemingly ill-fitted pants. So they just rattle off 3 examples of Trump getting dunked on for stuff that didn't happen.
Oh, yeah.
Facebook and Meta were a mistake. Like,
yeah, and I remember when the whole argument was going on about Trump's cognitive decline and stuff like that, and he gave that interview with Fox News where he was like, I had to remember 5 words, and then he literally picked 5 things in his line of sight in order to show, and it was just like, oh my God, like, you're trying to tell me that, like, my concern should be Joe Biden's mental acuity when this guy is like, there are times where he'll give a speech and you can just tell that he starts a sentence and he has no idea where it's going to end. He's just like, I'm talking, and where this plane lands, I don't know. I'm just hoping I can find some traction at the end of this thing. I'm hoping I can get to a payoff.
But wherever the plane lands, we know that it will safely have JFK Jr. aboard it because he's still alive and not dead.
Yes.
And not cremated and then had his ashes spread in the ocean.
And back to the poop thing. Like, look, like we're not above making fun of Donald Trump when, like, it looks like his pants are on backwards, or when, like, some guy like in the CIA or whatever says that there's a P tape about him. But, like, you know, so I'm not saying that we're, you know, I'm not blue anon, but I'm also not above taking shots at Donald Trump because he sucks. But I'm also not simultaneously out there, like, you know, making like a big banner to hang at the World Series. It's like Joe Biden photoshopped on a centaur, like decapitating Donald Trump or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
that'd be awesome.
I make fun of Donald Trump because he sucks, and then, like, I acknowledge that Joe Biden is the president because he won the election. But I'm not claiming that Joe Biden is, like, the second coming of Christ, or that he is working with like actual God to defeat actual the devil, or any of that shit. So in that sense, like, our hands are much more clean. Like, the closest we get to doing any of that shit is putting out a podcast weekly to explain to people that QAnon are morons, and that following QAnon is for morons and the easily tricked. And to occasionally be like, man, and if you know somebody that got tricked by this, that sucks. And, you know, we do have empathy for that. But at the same time, these people are the worst, and, like, sucks for them. Like, you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
Like, I don't want anybody listening to this to just be like, fucking L, such a hypocrite. He loves talking about Donald Trump getting peed on. And indeed I do. But that doesn't mean I'm out there. But, like, I don't have the other, like, QAnon has the other part of it where they're just like, Joe Biden pooped his pants and Donald Trump is the greatest king of kings ever. Fuck Jesus, Trump is the man. It's like, okay, cool.
I
remember
blasphemy count for the day.
Yeah, I remember one QAnon promoter, and I mean, a few of them have said things like this, but one QAnon promoter just like flat out came out and said Q is Jesus, and there were some people in the replies who were like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! You gotta have to dial that back just a skosh," because that even for us, that might be a little much.
Well, I mean, didn't Janet O like refer to Trump as like the ruler of rulers or something? Like
Yeah,
the end of that fucking thing.
The master of masters.
Master of
Master
Masters.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
She
cool.
blasphemed real good.
Yeah,
And those people fucking love that shit. They can't get enough of that. So it's just like, like I guess they're just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You can't actually use the J word, but we all know what you're saying. I mean, obviously, yeah, like Trump is Jesus or Q is Jesus or Q and Trump. Oh my God, it's the Holy Trinity, Jesus and Q and Trump. They're all the same. Yeah,
yes.
sick.
But Trump is Q sometimes, according to them, maybe.
Yeah, but he's busy getting fucking peed on when he's not busy engaging in water sports and getting sprinkled genied all over.
Oh, God. Yeah,
man.
I mean, it's really bizarre that this was a running narrative for like 3 days in Q World that Biden had shit himself, and we know the secret truth of him pooping his britches, but the mainstream media, man, they won't let you know. Meanwhile, while they're screaming and yelling about that, we've now cleared the bar for all the vaccines for children from the ages of 5 to 11 to start getting shots, which they've been pouting about for forever. So it's so funny that they take their eyes off the ball from just because, I mean, all us adults are. We all got one foot in the grave from getting vaccinated, but now they're coming for the kids, and
don't worry, I'm sure that their eye will get back onto the ball, by which I mean the football, by which I mean the American football, by which I mean a hand egg, by which I mean Aaron Rodgers, who just came down with COVID because he refused to get vaccinated. They're going to look at Aaron Rodgers and be like, what a heroic millionaire. What a heroic white millionaire who has decided that he doesn't need to cash any more future paychecks for this.
You think Aaron Rodgers listens to Joe Rogan?
Probably. He feels bro-y enough to have some of that Rogan in him. And the thing is like, man, I mean, if you were another unvaccinated, attention-seeking athlete, you've got to be so mad that Aaron Rodgers just ate your lunch. I mean, Kyrie Irving is furious because he was QAnon's favorite for the past month because he was trying to single-handedly sabotage the Brooklyn Nets' attempt to win a championship by standing his ground and opposing the mandates. And I ain't going to put that experimental crap in my body. And now, unfortunately for him, a bigger star who also fits the QAnon demographic, read Bleach White, has now come out as being an unvaccinated dum-dum. And it's just like, I haven't seen it yet, but I mean, it's coming. It's coming right down Broadway that all of QAnon are suddenly going to be the biggest Green Bay Packer fans that have ever existed. Because
you know what? There is going to be one person out there who's a much bigger fan of Aaron Rodgers than anyone in QAnon, and that is Ruggs.
Yes, yeah.
That dude has got to be so pumped that Aaron Rodgers has tested positive for COVID. Can you imagine? He's just like, God damn it! The news cycle's all going to be about me getting drunk and going 156 down the highway and murdering this person in a car accident. And they're just like, no, NFL fans and the general public will only decide to talk about Aaron Rodgers having COVID.
Yeah,
he's like, oh, thank God. Oh, yeah. Thank God for that.
Yeah. Now I can go to the CFL for a couple years and rehabilitate myself, then make it back to the NFL, and no one will even remember why I was playing those 2 years for the Saskatoon Fire or whatever they call them.
Yeah, if you're gonna get drunk and murder somebody with your car, you have to do it in France or whatever, like Matthew Broderick did. Like, you can't be doing that shit on American soil. You go to a foreign country and murder people with your vehicle. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Oh man, God, save Ferris. So I hear Mike Lindell did a thing. That's actually what our notes say. Mike Lindell does or says a thing.
Yeah, because during our pre-show meeting,
Mike could be anything.
He said Mike Lindell, and then my brain just sort of shut off, and I typed Mike Lindell, and then followed it up with does or says a thing.
So our boy Mike Lindell is who is definitely not in a million years the boy who cried wolf. Mike Lindell is now talking up a new thing that he's getting ready to do that will finally reveal the absolute truth that Trump had the election stolen from him. And that Mike Lindell is going to bring a case to the Supreme Court that they will accept. And once they do, they will have no choice but to rule 9-0 in Mike Lindell's favor and restore Trump to the presidency. If all of this sounds really slipshod and scatterbrained, it is, because you can't just walk into the Supreme Court and demand they hold a case for you. Like, none of what Mike Lindell is saying is at all coherent. But lucky for all of us, he has set a date. I don't know if there's going to be an actual location for this, or if he's just going to do this like from his offices at My Pillow Incorporated. But the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, so I guess it's the 24th, he is going to start a 3-day streaming marathon where he is going to present all of his evidence and information to the American people to once and for all prove that Trump is your rightful president. And I mean, just because the Cyber Symposium crashed and burned as hard as you could possibly imagine, just because all of these other things didn't work out the way Mike Lindell said they were going to work out, doesn't mean you shouldn't just go into this one with an open mind and be ready to rock, because this time he's absolutely going to get it right. This time we're all going to be marching in the streets demanding our beautiful orange boy become our president again, and get rid of President McPoopy Pants. We don't like him anymore.
I look forward to Karma's breakdown on Twitter of that stream, because I won't be watching it.
Oh, so. God. Oh, I mean, like, this is like the leftovers of a bad meal, because the Cyber Symposium was his money shot. That was the big payoff. And within like 4 hours of that thing starting, it was so obvious that the wheels were just coming right off and that thing was going to crash and burn so goddamn hard.
It's been pathetic. Now it's just genuinely getting sad. And like, if he had if his company had the chance to vote him out, I think they would, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't work like that.
No, he's the owner emperor of My Pillow Corporation. So this isn't like a Papa John thing where the board of directors can stuff Papa into a locker and make Shaquille O'Neal the new face of the company. Like, this is they're stuck with him. He's their boss, and he makes the decisions.
Fun.
Well, thank God. I can't wait to have to talk about him every fucking week. I genuinely feel like I blacked out there. I think you guys started talking about Mike Lindell, and I just started thinking about other stuff.
Yes,
it's like that scene from The Simpsons where they like zoom up into Homer's brain, and it's just like stock cartoon footage for like cows dancing or whatever. That's me whenever Mike Lindell happens.
And blessed are you for having it. So yes,
but we could talk about somebody who still gets the fire in my belly going.
Who's that?
Tucker Carlson.
Man.
Proper piece of shit.
Yes. Yeah. So our beautiful boy Tucker Carlson. I believe he has started his Alex Jones-esque 1/6 truth documentary called Patriot Purge. Unfortunately, this thing is being hidden on like Fox Nation or like their streaming service or something. So
shucks, we don't get to watch it. Bummer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the truth is right there.
Yes.
So close to you can taste it.
Oh God.
It's just him peddling the same old January 6th was a false flag operation, that shit, and Fox News itself cannot distance himself any harder from it.
But it's so disingenuous. If they really cared, they'd be like, you can't have your show anymore, or you have to like do so. But they're pretending that they don't like it, where at the same time he's still their like leading anchor. Yeah. He's still the most important man on their show, on their network. So I will bite the bullet whenever this thing is completed. I don't know if it finished today or if it's or yesterday or today, or if it's being aired in weekly chunks, but I will find it in whatever I have to do to watch this ridiculous sham of a documentary, I will do. So you will all be getting a review of Patriot Purge, as it were. And we'll just, because it feels like this is going to be a rehash of the idea that the Three Percenters, the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, all of these far-right militia groups, the fact that they have FBI agents inside them, monitoring them and reporting on them, they're going to spin this as being the FBI agents were the ones who ordered the attack. That the FBI itself controlled these organizations and then, against their will, made them attack the Capitol. Which, again, like, I mean, I'm sure I would love to like see that, like, this version of reality where, like, the FBI agents like, we got to storm the Capitol, get Trump back into office, and all these like noble Proud Boys are like, dude, we had a free and fair election. Biden's our president now. We just have to accept it. And the FBI agent's like, no, I won't. You guys got to do it, or you ain't really Proud Boys anymore. And they're like, oh, okay, if you say so, boss. Just glumly marching to the Capitol. I'm only doing this because Bob's making me. Bullshit. I believe in democracy, and I mean, Georgia was close, but Biden's message must have appealed to people. What can you do? I mean, it's just so ridiculous to think that, like, these people were not on a hair trigger, just waiting for the moment to strike.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but you brought up elections. I guess we're having one of those, so...
Yeah.
And I'm sure QAnon has thoughts about that.
So the really funny thing is that the Virginia election happens, and pretty quickly it's clear that the Republican Youngkin has defeated the Democrat McAuliffe, and you would think that this would trigger like just universal celebration and praise inside of QAnon, that they would be just over the moon for their big W and sticking it to the deep state. But I go to QAnon world on the internet, and there are the people that are like basically just grumpy Republicans that got into QAnon because it lets them say terrible things about Democrats. Those people are like, yeah, we did it. Boom. We got a W. This is great. And then you look at the guys who are more like the religious fanatics that got into QAnon through like that kind of stuff, and the politics is kind of secondary. And they're all sitting around like, man, like, do we have to wait a little bit longer for the 3 a.m. ballot dump when the deep state steals this from us? And they're all like really upset and worried and nervous. And it's like, guys, Youngkin's already given his victory speech. McAuliffe's already given his concession speech. You've won. It's over. It's done. And they're just like, oh, I know they're going to steal it from us, man. I know they're going to take it. And it's like they're so beaten down. They're so depressed. And what was really hilarious was this morning, Gateway Pundit, who is one of their favorite sources, because he'll just print anything that makes right-wingers happy. Gateway Pundit came out today with an article that declared that we did win Virginia, but Lord knows what this actually means, and that like it's like the gist of this. The gist of the story is that Virginia being won by Youngkin is probably just a head fake by the deep state to make us think that elections are free and fair. And now that we're buying into this whole democracy works bullshit, they're going to hit us with an even bigger election theft in 2024 when they really screw us over and they either reinstall Biden or get Harris like the president or whatever. Right.
I love that. Yeah, I was trying to explain this last night to my partner. We were talking about JFK Jr. and I'm like, they all have different theories. There's no one QAnon canon. They all come at it from slightly different angles, so it is vastly confusing. And when something goes wrong, they can always just be like, oh, that's what those people say.
Yeah.
But it's so abundantly clear.
You know what's unfortunately not a conspiracy theory? It's just a reality that we have to live with. Republicans can still win elections places. Isn't that fucked up? How fucked up is that? That shit is crazy. That party is absolutely bonkers. The fact that they can win an election anywhere is like truly a devastating blow to Americans. Like, it's just like, if you live anywhere else in the world, you're looking at America and what's been going on with that party for the past like 20 years, and they're still pulling up W's. You just got to be like, man, America is fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
the closing paragraph of this article is, as Joe Hoff reported earlier today, 1 year ago, 300,000 votes magically appeared for Joe Biden in the middle of the night to give him the win in Virginia. Literally none of this is true. Biden was winning Virginia the whole way, and no one ever thought it was going to be close. These magical votes have yet to be explained. The Democrats' fake news and even the Republican Party are incurious. So where were the magical votes this year? Was this on omission? Was this omission on purpose? Was this part of a larger psyop on the American public? Was this part of their game? Throw in McAuliffe as the sacrificial lamb, knowing they can steal any future election at will?
They're so powerful that they have to hoodwink the American people. They're so powerful that it has to be like a weird bait and switch cat and mouse game, and not just them putting their heavy thumb on the scale and just being like, we own you.
Yeah,
because at any moment, armed patriots could take back control. No, they can't. We've been over this 100 times. If the United States government wanted to put their fucking boot on your neck, they would just do it. They've got the military. They've got nuclear weapons and submarines and drones and jets,
they have done
tanks.
Like, and hey, if the government wanted to kill us with this vaccine, guess what? We'd be dead, because like more than half of America has taken the goddamn thing. And like, if you think that you and the quote unquote like brave survivors who haven't been vaccinated would survive, then the government would make a more lethal virus that would just kill more people. I mean, it's just like...
And it sucks, because I've said it before and I'll say it again, but these conservative idiots, they're just immune to logic, reason, and facts, like, backed up by, like, actual receipts. So, like, I could go to them and just be like, hey, do you know who, like, gave out the information for how the voting systems worked and, like, admin password and all that shit? It was a conservative QAnon supporter. Hey, a voting machine went missing from a county. Do you know who took that? Oh, it was a QAnon and a conservative. Like, when it comes to people actually fucking with our voting machines, it's not Democrats doing it. It's kind of only Republicans doing that. So, they just gerrymandered a bunch of districts to like fudge the numbers on where the votes are coming from for the candidates and who's it in favor of. I'm getting word from the booth. It was fucking Republican conservatives and never Democrats. So, but I mean, they don't care about any of that shit. Like, they care about the 300,000 votes that mysteriously showed up for Joe Biden that never happened. Because any of the things that are happening that you could like point to and just be like, here's evidence for it. They don't want to hear that. They want to hear about these magic votes or, the dead are rising to vote for Joe Biden or whatever. And it's just like, dead people did not vote in the election. That did not happen. And also, the only people rooting for somebody to come back from the dead is you fucks. For JFK Jr., you're literally going out to fucking Dealey Plaza in the hopes that somebody returns from the dead for you.
Well, I just looked up the election in Virginia between Biden and Trump, and Biden actually won by over 400,000 votes. So he didn't that 300,000 bonus votes was just gravy. He already had the state won with more than that.
That was the deep state, man. Rubbing it in your face, bro.
Yeah. the deep state was like, hey, Biden's winning by 2 points. And he says, like, not good enough. Make it a 10-point win. Pour the votes on. But, sir, the Patriots will catch the illegality of our 300,000 fake votes. I don't care. Do it anyways. Pour those votes in. Hit the button that gives Biden more votes that he doesn't need because he already won the state by plenty.
It's like Baron Harkonnen going to the Emperor to pick up like the elite units to help crush House Atreides. It's just like, dog, you're bombarding them from orbit or whatever. You don't need any help. Like they're stuck on a planet. You are in space or whatever, just launching missiles down at that. Like you've got this in the bag. You don't need to implicate the Emperor in this directly, but just go ahead and do that anyway. Just make sure that if anyone survives the attack, they have firsthand recollection of the fact that the Emperor's forces were personally there. Like, definitely don't just blow them up from space, which you were also doing. Anyway, sorry.
Someone watched Dune recently.
That was a little message from the future from next week's binge-worthy episode on Dune.
So I love looking at the vaccination tracker in America. So right now, 58% of Americans are fully vaccinated, and 67% of all Americans have at least one dose. So again, if the government was going to kill us with this vaccine, guess what? They won. It's over. We're all dead. I mean, it's just, if you think the remaining 30% of Americans are going to be able to keep civilization intact, you're mistaken. It's over. We've lost.
Yeah, and I'm going to be scheduling my booster shot soon.
Yep, me too. For all of you QAnon people who are like, oh, they'll rebel when the boosters come out and they have to take those. Nope, not rebelling. Totally pacified sheep, totally content, rolling up my sleeve to get more Moderna to put in my body. Don't care. I mean, it's the idea that like people get yearly flu shots. People get a message from their doctor saying their 5-year tetanus booster is due or whatever. I mean, booster shots are not some weird, freaky thing that's going to blow people's minds and make them going, oh, now I got to get a yearly COVID shot? Oh, this is obviously bullshit. This is obviously some sort of plot by the government to alter my DNA. Now I'm out. Now I'm pilled. I mean,
I got my MMR vaccine updated because you know what, that can wear off too, and I didn't want measles as an adult.
I'm gonna rebel against the booster in that I am not going to schedule an appointment for my booster. I'm just going to wait until I can walk into a Walgreens and just get it immediately.
Oh yeah, you can just walk in.
They're just gonna be like, "Yo, booster shot available here," and I'm just gonna be walking by and just be like, "You know what sounds good right now? A booster shot." They're just gonna go in and get it for free, and then just be like, "Ah, man, more protected against COVID. Fuck you, everyone who's not."
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody on Twitter posted, they were just like, "How do you feel when some anti-masker or anti-vaxxer dies of COVID?" And I was just like, what's the best applause gif I can find?
I mean, there's a whole subreddit called the Herman Cain Award. That's all they do is document dum-dums from Facebook bragging about not getting the vax, and then post their Facebook post from their wife or whatever, and like, flowers can be sent to such and such funeral home.
Yeah, and then all of these good QAnon people will just be like, so much for the tolerant left. And I'll just be like, dog, the intolerant left has been here for a while. Holler at your boy if you want to talk about intolerant left, because I will educate you.
Yeah.
I will ask you if you are vaccinated, and if you are not, I will say that I will applaud your death if it comes from COVID.
Yeah, I will blank out your name and post your significant other's Facebook posts asking for prayers in this time of your death on the Herman Cain Award subreddit.
Thoughts and prayers intensify.
Yeah.
It blows my mind when you see these people, when they're so devoted to it and they're so just hardcore entrenched in their belief that what they're doing is the right course of action, and they've been so misled and they've just indoctrinated themselves so hard that what I've said previously just doesn't sink in. You go to my work and everyone's we basically have a scheme where you have to wear a wristband to show that you're vaccinated, and all the employees are wearing that. And you talk to anyone who's playing poker and they're all a million years old and they all talk about being vaccinated or getting their booster. Society the majority of society is vaccinated and nothing's happening to them. And yet you're still holding out for some sort of weird payoff that was supposed to happen where everybody else was going to just fall apart and drop dead. And I mean, literally all these people have to talk about is, I can never say the heart condition myocarditis, but I'm not even going to try. But the heart condition that some people get from the vaccine, which you're more likely to get from having COVID in the first place, and they're like, "This devastating heart condition." It's it's a bad heart condition, but it can be treated. You can get that. The doctors say you can have it, and then you just don't exercise for a while. You relax, and then eventually your heart will calm down and the swelling will go away and you'll get back to something resembling a normal life, which is something that cannot happen when you die from having COVID. I mean, that is not a condition.
I'm sure there's some listeners that are just damn, L is pretty harsh when it comes to this COVID shit. It's just well, I mean, I would feel the same way. Heaven forbid I was on a plane and the plane went down in the ocean. But if it happened, I know that if I reach underneath my seat, there's going to be a flotation device that I can apply to prevent myself from drowning in the ocean. So if I was in that process, drowning in the ocean, and I retrieve my flotation device and I put it on and it prevents me from doing so. And I look over and there's another person like struggling and about to go under the water. And I go over to them and I'm just like, I've got your flotation device. Put it on, prevent yourself from drowning. And they were just like, no, freedom. I would rather die than put that on. And then they drowned. When I told that story later, I would be like, and then the dumb motherfucker wouldn't take the flotation device and they drowned. And that shit is fucked up. But fuck that guy. Like, they clearly just didn't want to live anymore. So that's how I feel about the vaccine. Like, just take it. Like, the government and everyone with a brain is trying to hand you your flotation device to prevent you from drowning. And you would rather roll the dice to see if you could just fight against the current. And if you lose that fight, that's fucking on you. And I'm going to think that you're a dumb idiot. Like...
Yeah, it's the joke. It's the joke. The two boats and a helicopter. I mean, we're doing everything we can to save you, and you're spitting in our face. And it's just it gets.
What does Joe Rogan think? Ask Joe.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that about wraps up this week's news, as it were. Incredibly hard-hitting news. Like, did Joe Biden shit himself, and is JFK Jr. alive? So let's see what our listeners have to ask us.
Our listeners got questions. We got answers. It's time for Q&A.
I tell you what, before we get into this, I am glad that we play our content warning, even though this week's like headlines were light and like frivolous. Biden pooping himself and the return of JFK Jr. Because inevitably every week we have to talk about COVID, and when we talk about COVID, it's just like, and then some dumb fucks died of COVID. Like, a bunch of us are not displeased by this. It's just like content warning. The Adventures of HellwQrld podcast features people that will applaud if you die of COVID after refusing the vaccine and refusing to wear a mask.
Yeah, I'm an unashamed member of the Herman Cain Award on Reddit. Like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, like, yeah, if you want a more progressive podcast, I'm sure you could find one.
Yeah.
The Chapo Trap House Birdie or Bust podcast.
So, Bobby, who runs Bartertown Ellis, asks, has the Q movement pretty much moved on from the idea that the election will be overturned a year on? Or are they mostly looking forward, or are they still looking back in anger?
Looking back in anger and hoping that JFK Jr. would appear out of a puff of smoke and tell them that Trump is president again.
This is a wildly disparate movement that is real good at moving dim goalposts. So, yes and no.
Yeah, I actually saw some pretty ridiculous explanations as to why you need to keep voting, even though elections are hopelessly rigged and there's no possible way we can win. People were saying that, like, Youngkin, if he wins in Pennsylvania, if he wins in Virginia, Langley, the headquarters of the CIA, is in Virginia, and he can have state police barge into the CIA headquarters and grab the golden server and reveal the voter fraud that made Trump lose the election. There's no end to the LARPiness of this nonsense. They will always make up new stuff to keep just piling things on. And they have to keep you voting. They have to keep you engaged, because if you don't participate in this shit, you'll get disinterested and you'll leave, and that kills the game. They need you to care in order to keep the content flowing. I mean, that's just how this works.
Yeah, they're the goalposts moving as fools around. So it's always just going to be yes and no. Like,
yeah. Oh, yeah, it's always yes. It is always both yes and no when it comes to this stuff. Absolutely. So
yeah, they're still obsessed with Hillary,
yeah.
And like, she hasn't been in frontline politics in over 4 years. So
when Bill Clinton went to the hospital, they fished out like a 2.5-year-old Q drop about the Clintons' public health will deteriorate rapidly. They were like, see, Q nailed it. And it's like, he said rapidly 2.5 years ago, and by the way, Bill got discharged from the hospital. He's fine. So,
yeah, I'm gonna let you nasty weirdos in on something secret. I think both Bill and Hillary should go to jail, but not for any of the reasons Q wants. But there we go. So
yeah, yes. So thank you for the question there. I don't know that there's a better answer than that, because, again, as Sergeant mentioned, QAnon's a mess. Troy McClure asks, where did -48 come from? And that is a great question for me.
That's all Mike.
Yeah, because I totally missed him myself, but he's an incredibly popular guy who deals with gematria and all this kind of nonsense. And my timeline was like full of a kind of an explainer about this guy, is that he lives about an hour away from the Rantha cult commune, and he is someone who is known for not sleeping for days at a time. So I feel like he's the kind of a person that is like spiraling, and there are people that have obvious mental health issues who got really big in QAnon, and there's nothing worse than being validated when you need to not be validated. Instead, you need to receive help desperately, quickly, now. And so I can only think that this guy is probably going to crash sooner rather than later. And when that happens, again, I really kind of hope that he gets attention. Negative 48, for the record, has over 100,000 people following him on Telegram, which is like just aggressively terrifying and not good.
Wibbity wham wham wazzle.
I was over here lamenting the fact that I got punchy in this podcast, despite the fact that I forgot that I'm supposed to be selling out. I was supposed to be selling out and playing it down the middle and just being like, I don't know, man, I just disagree with your opinion, bro, to get that money. But then I see these conservative people, they say the most vile shit, and they're just racking up the subscriber counts, and it's just like, fuck. Man, I really need to rewire my brain. Is there like an eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind service that will like wash my brain Republican? Can I do that?
Yeah, and just for a little quick comparison here, perennial whipping boy on the podcast, Jordan Sather, Mr. Stop worshiping the JFK Jr. people and give me money. Our little boy John Jordan, who's been in QAnon since the very start, he only has 70,000 subscribers. So the JFK Jr. will appear in Daily Plaza, gematria, crazy guy who didn't matter 6 months ago has already surpassed Jordan in follower count with his wackadoodle Telegram channel. Oh man, I just
Silver linings, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
When God closes the door, he opens a window, man.
Yep, exactly.
What are you telling me? If you tell these dum-dums what they want to hear, they will follow you, and you can sell them coins?
Yep. It's so funny to me that so many of these QAnon grifters appear either unwilling to accept or just are incapable of understanding that this entire thing is confirmation bias, and all you're here to do is to tell people what they want to hear. That's it. There's no search for the great truth. There's no search for the hidden secrets of the universe. It's just, I want you to tell me that my orange daddy is coming back to the presidency tomorrow. That's all I want. And I don't care how convoluted and dumb the story is. Just get me to that payoff. And if you do that, I'll buy 2 Trump coins off you.
Well, that's good, because here comes my convoluted and dumb story. Get this. JFK Jr. never died. And it's just like, oh boy, wow, that's a strong start.
Yes.
I'm interested in what you have to say and would like to subscribe to your newsletter.
Exactly.
So, is there any way that we can get it on that grift by like who is JFK? I keep just wanting to put the junior on there because he's been in the news cycle. Who is JFK's father? We need to. Can we get on the grift of the opposite direction and just be like, everybody's too worried about the son. You should be more worried about the father. Return of JFK Senior.
Wasn't he the bootlegger, or were we a generation removed at that point?
No, Joe Kennedy was the guy who made the money for the family. The bootlegging is not, that's kind of a thing with the gray area where people are not sure if he was an actual bootlegger during Prohibition or not. But pretty much the father, JFK's dad, was the guy who got the Kennedys all their money. And once he got all the money, he was like, okay, now my sons are going to run for office and they're going to run America. And JFK's older brother actually died in World War II. His plane blew up, I believe. And
well, did it?
Yeah.
Nothing bad ever happened to the Kennedys.
Right. And pretty much what happened was, after that happened, Pappy Kennedy was like, okay, Jack, you have to be the president now. And he was like, dogs. So that was that was the burden that was thrust upon him as being the oldest living son of Joe Kennedy.
But Dad, I don't want to be in office. I just want to smash movie stars.
Yes, exactly.
Damn it, son, you're going to have to do both.
Yes.
Oh, geez, I guess I'll do both then.
We need a segue into being a zoo crew and get that clip from Clone High. Nothing bad ever happened to the Kennedys.
Oh, absolutely.
Don't worry. We know that you're locked into saying it at least 3 times anytime we talk about any Kennedy. So
I mean,
we're good.
it is the Waka Waka or what are you talking about of Sarge?
Yes.
If QAnon stops bringing up the Kennedys, I will stop quoting Clone High. So
It's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Sarge. Believe in yourself. The real zoo crew was inside of you the whole time.
Yes.
Woo!
Yeah. So
Few other sound effects.
Reverend Xenofact asks, after seeing the JFK will return gathering in Dallas and the community reacting with some support, I wonder if the community is really turning into a messianic religion for anyone, Trump, JFK Jr., JFK, etc. Do you feel it's mutating more towards messianism? No, because it was always messianic. Trump was the Messiah. Q was his prophet. The whole point of QAnon has always been somebody is going to come in and take care of shit. Somebody is going to fix all this stuff. Old school Illuminati New World Order shit was mostly get right with God because God's going to have to do this stuff. And it was just really just a total flat reskinning of Christianity where Jesus was going to show up one day and save the world. QAnon just kind of takes the Messiah template and assigns it to whoever you want to be the Messiah. And that makes it a little more accessible to a lot of people because it's sort of like, hey, Trump's the guy who's going to save the world. Oh, it's not him. JFK Jr. is. And in 2024, it might be DeSantis or Youngkin if he runs for president. Who knows? But just bridging that gap between religious fervor and politics is a big part of QAnon, and it definitely is going to help whoever they deem to be their messiah in that election, because that person is going to get a lot of unwavering blind support from QAnon voters who think that person's going to save the world and usher in 1,000 years of peace. So that's going to be both a hoot and a holler.
Nice.
Yes. Thank you for that question. Cleodora Silverstry asks, in the video of the Boston Dynamics dog with the gun mod, it doesn't look like the gun has a mechanism to lift or lower the gun. Is this a design flaw or a Chad move to have the dog shoot everyone in the dick?
What?
I mean, I feel like the mechanism to raise and lower the gun is the dog, right?
Yeah.
It's got legs.
Yeah. But
I get what they're saying. It doesn't have its own, but still, I feel like if you need to raise or lower the gun, the dog can do that. Granted, it won't be able to tilt at an angle, but maybe the dog is designed to either shoot you in the dick or the upper thighs or the lower belly, and that's it.
Yeah. It's just going for center of mass or peen, as it were. So I think that's
lost. I have no idea what's going on.
You haven't seen the Boston Dynamic gun dog? It's awesome.
Oh. Okay, yeah.
Also, I was just through context, you couldn't put that together. We're talking about a robot dog with a gun strapped on it. Get fucking dial it in.
Hold on.
Out of your ass, Sarge. You can figure out through context that we're talking about a gun-mounted robot dog? Get out of here.
No, I didn't know they had put a gun on it yet.
Yeah.
Dog, it's we three.
Yes.
Come on now.
Yeah. So
this thing is terrifying.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Chad move. That absolutely, it's the right thing to do and the tasty way to do it. Because I mean, if you see that dog coming for you, it's coming for your genitals or your lower tummy, and getting shot in either of those areas is really bad. So yeah, I'm very, because I mean, if the dog's aiming at my head, that's a painless death. Whereas I'm gonna be feeling about it and knowing about it if that thing blows off my balls. So
I mean, just imagine how much more terrified you're going to be when the dog rears up on its hind legs and it manages to shoot you in the head. Before everything goes black for you, you're gonna be like, man, that dog is. I thought it was fucked up when it was on 4 legs. Now I'm just even more terrified.
It's a robot with computer timing. It could just jump and shoot you.
Oh, That would be if the Boston Dynamics robot dog actually had like a power for vertical
Just
leap.
mad ups, just
yes. Oh yeah, it shoots you in the head and then it dunks a basketball. That would be then.
Oh yeah, dude, Boston Dynamics dog fucking definitely above the rim. Like, think about it.
Robot Airbud.
Also, the problem with it, the problem with the robot being designed to only shoot people in the dick is, doesn't that mean that our robot like mercenary technology could be counterfeited by an army of incredibly adept women soldiers? Because everybody knows that only male genitals is the one that you can damage by hitting them.
Yes,
women are immune to strikes to the crotch.
Yes,
we just outfit everyone bulletproof cups. Yeah, I got bad.
No, just like bulletproof, like full on like fake vaginas. Just strap them on, boys. There are dogs out in the field. That would be a great. That would be like a great like 1917 or whatever style like war movie where like the camera just goes down into the trench and a bunch of like fucking like, you know, red-blooded American patriot soldiers just like pulling down their pants and strapping on their bulletproof vaginas to protect themselves from the robot dog army.
I got bad news. We had on the standard body armor, there's a Kevlar dick pad, so we were way ahead of the robot dick shooting dogs.
I mean, but like, what caliber can that withstand, though? You don't know what sort of mountain.
I mean, you're still going down for a while because you just got like punched in the nuts harder than you've ever been.
That's why you need the pillowy but also durable protection of a Kevlar vag.
But I hope someone makes that an out of context clip for this week's episode.
I'm sure it's going to piss off somebody that doesn't understand that I'm not fucking going after women. I'm going after dumb masculinity in the army.
Yes.
Please don't be mad at me. The humor comes from the idea that they just be like, we need to protect ourselves with vaginas. Sorry, I want to live in this world so much.
Yeah.
I could see why QAnon gets so fired up about stuff like JFK Jr. because now, man, I want to live in the like. First of all, like Robot Dog Uprising or whatever has to be the baseline for my fantasy world. It'd be great. Oh Jesus!
So thank you for that question that went horribly off the rails, which is what I want my questions to do. Placeholder asks, what new to anti-QAnon noob poster are you most tired of seeing? That this is blood libel reskinned, watch The Social Dilemma on Netflix, something else? I think the thing that I most get disappointed in is when people try to like just solve QAnon, where they're like, oh, Russia did it, or this, that, the other thing. When someone has like a quick, clean, obvious solution to all of this stuff, or they're like, isn't Ron Watkins Q? And it's like, it really doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Right. It like anyone who tries to tell me, oh, we already know like who started it or who did it, so it really doesn't matter anymore. It's just so preposterous to think that we know the guy who threw the grenade, so the grenade can't possibly do any more damage. And it's like, well, I'm sorry, but the grenade actually was thrown into like a ammunition factory, and now the explosions are going to be going on for the next like 20 years. I mean, it's just because you quote unquote know how it all started or who was behind it or why they did it, it doesn't change the actual damage to society that has been done by it. So thank you for your keen insight, but try to, I don't know, just deal with the collateral damage, deal with awareness, deal with actually trying to help people out when like family members get sucked into this bullshit, all that kind of stuff. So yeah. I think that's the thing that most frustrates me is just people like just having a quick, clear answer, and then they're like, "Yeah, I solved it. Boom. No need to thank me, everybody. I'll see myself out." Brilliant QAnon debunker who started my Twitter account 2 weeks ago. Mission completed. Signing off. It's like, yep, good job. Congrats.
Sorry if I was icily silent during the answering of that question. I was too busy choking back the vomit that was coming out of my gullet upon reading this headline. And I'm sure my hatred of this headline is going to piss off people. So for those of you who managed to stick with me through the wishing of COVID death and through the toxic masculinity bulletproof vagina riff, here's something that maybe like, and all the things I've said about the Beastie Boys in the past. Here's the breaking news headline that makes me want to just punch a baby. And that headline comes from the AV Club, and it says, "It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia's 15th season. We'll show how the gang handles COVID." Oh, thank God. Just what I always wanted. I'm assuming it will be a bunch of idiots screaming at each other in masks, because that's what that fucking show is.
Yeah. Yeah, you have all managed to have avoided, for the most part, me and Elle's burning hatred of It's Always Sunny. So for those of you who are fans of the show, I apologize for the fact that you follow that show.
Yeah, I was about to say, if Mike is going to apologize for us, I'm going to cut him off and apologize that they have bad taste.
Right.
Yeah, that show, it's never funny in Philadelphia, as we call it, because we're witty and clever, unlike that show, which sucks.
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry. This is why you don't check the news while you're recording a podcast, because sometimes you'll just see something that makes you want to put your head into your hands.
Yeah. So our final question of the week is from Little Loopy Lou, which asks, where was Beans on 1-6? Referring to Tracy Beans, one of the initial QAnon promoters. And,
referring to the food. You know, they were around in kitchens
Referring
across
to
America.
the legume.
Yeah.
Yes.
Being eaten by hobos over trash can fires in comics from the 1920s, the same as they always were.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds right to me. I've heard nothing about her being anywhere near the whole ordeal, because she's like so periphery to the movement. I mean, she won some small bit of power in the South Carolina Republican Party when Lynn Wood was trying to become the chairman and got dunked on most aggressively. So I think that she's like trying to like just keep her head down, and because she used QAnon for what she was looking for, which was just enough notoriety and enough attention to get herself into a place where she was able to win some level of party apparatchik status. And she's probably going to keep like moving through that, and probably in like 10 years, she's going to be a state senator from South Carolina or whatever, and just be working the grift and the hustle that way, unless like she runs into another scam.
Representative Beans.
Yep, exactly. It's coming. It's coming down Broadway. It's going to be great.
QAnon's mean bean machine.
Governor Beans, we have questions for you. In fucking 10 years or whatever, it will be President Beans. America literally run by beans.
Whenever they have it, whenever she has her ads come out, someone says, "Roll that beautiful bean footage." So it'll be wonderful. It'll be absolutely magical. So that
looks at Mike Raids. Say the line. Because boy, howdy, if there was ever a Mike Range joke for a Waka Waka, that was it.
Waka Waka.
Yeah, that's right. Yay!
So that concludes the mailbag proper for the week. So our question to numerous is, what are you looking forward to?
Bro, I'm looking forward to people hearing this episode just being like, man, Elle was on something that day. I mean, you're right. I don't know what crawled up my ass during the recording of this show. I think it was because I watched White Squall right beforehand, and it fucking got my hockles all up.
Yeah. For those of you who are our subscribers and getting our bonus content, you're about to get a very punchy "Where We Go One, We Go Squall" recorded today. So that's going to be magical.
Yeah, there will be surprising twists, I assure you. So, I mean, aside from just generally being excited for listeners to hear this episode, being like, "Fucking hell, Jesus, you need to calm down a bit," and I'd be like, "Yeah, probably." And all those sweet Darkman references. Did you notice that Sarge backed off of those immediately?
You ruthlessly made fun of something I was doing, so I stopped doing it. What a shock! Friendship in a nutshell.
I come at you to make you better, and like
says every abusive spouse ever.
I'm like Skipper from White Squall.
Yeah.
I push you hard because I want you to grow, because I believe in you.
You make me piss on the ropes, and that makes me stronger.
Hey, and did that kid not climb up to all the way at the top and ring that bell for that boy after that boy shot that dolphin?
Yeah.
Checkmate. I just want you to be on the top ringing the bell for Dolphin Murder Boy.
Where's the rest of this metaphor go? What dolphin are you going to smash in the head with a sledgehammer?
Well, if I need a racist metaphor, maybe I should just say that I'm not fond of Dark Man. Oh, y fuera.
This is known.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to a number of things have started up. The anime Blue Period started on Netflix, and I really liked that manga, so I'm excited for that. There's actually some good anime out, so I'm excited for that because there have been a couple of seasons where there was just nothing to watch. So,
yeah. I am looking forward to the fact that I'll probably be getting killed at the poker tables in the next few days because I've been playing a little bit more recently, and that is something that I've found to be mildly enjoyable. So that like silly hobby of mine rearing its ugly head once again will probably lead to new segments on the podcast called Mike's Terrible Bad Beats, where I just piss and moan about the fact that I ever agreed to play poker in the first place. And can you believe what that moron just called me with and all that good stuff? Because Lord knows everyone's bad beat stories are the most original, witty, clever, and funny stuff you've never heard a million times.
Yeah, if you're not complaining about bad beats, are you really playing poker? I would say no.
Oh, God, no. Of course not.
And that's like half of playing
are
poker.
You really
playing about your bad beats?
And are you L?
Yes.
Oh yeah, dude, yeah, bro. I mean that is like my whole Magic career. It's just constantly just being like, can you believe I drew my 14th land out of my 16th land deck and then lost to this pile of piss? That's like half of every draft that I do.
Yeah. Hey, someone made the point at a table one time where they said, why do we all have hobbies that only hurt us? Like, we bet on sports, we play poker, we go golfing, we do all these things, and after it's done, we're mad. Like, why is this? Why can't we just have a hobby where we're happy after we've engaged in it? And it's like a very weird thing that there's just so many people that have like hobbies where the end result of the hobby is just broken golf clubs, lost money, like ruined friendships because that idiot called you with a gunshot. And why would you do that to me?
The trick is because people are stupid, and the actual secret spice of life is variance. Like everybody likes to pretend like they don't like variance, but they love it. No, you just can't get enough of that sweet variance. Like,
it's why
if people
games are a thing.
Yeah, if people didn't want variance, everybody would just love chess. Just literally a 100% skill tester, just you and your opponent and whoever can out. Like, it's like that Futurama gag where the two robots sit down to play chess, where it just goes mate in 100 moves, and everyone's like, you win again. Like, yeah, like that would be a world without variance. So the the trick is, like, even though I hate getting mana screwed, Mike will hate his bad beats, like, etc. Like, we're just addicted to the variance. It gets the people going.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. That's something I say to people all the time. I'm like, no one's playing high stakes chess at the Bellagio because without variance, there's no game. So can't do it.
Well, hopefully your bad beats won't be too beat-tastic, and that I don't have to come like pull you out of like your little cardboard makeshift lean-to in a grimy alleyway somewhere after you gamble all your money away. I don't want to have to come retrieve you in your lowest moment because the place I live in is pretty small. I don't think I could put up a mic reins. I wish I could, but like I don't think I've got it in me.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And speaking of reins, I'm going to hand you the reins.
Oh shit, that's some hot segue action. I appreciate it. Okay, well, Jesus, thank you everybody for listening to this week for what has become what was a totally normal Adventures in HellwQrld podcast. As always, we appreciate your support. If you would like to support us further, the easiest way to do so would be to tell a friend or leave a positive review. Just anything to help get our engagement numbers up, or just you do you. Continue to support the podcast just by putting it in your wonderful ear holes. But if you have money and you want to support us, that we would really super interested in like discussing further. If you, I'm just watching Sarge crack up. I'm saying this.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know if the audience could hear it, but there's people like sawing and banging on my roof, so I've been muted a lot.
No, that's fine. I little peek behind the curtain. I saw you bust a stitch
Yeah.
when I actively starts listening.
We like money. We like your money even more.
I mean, well, like I like their money when it becomes our money by way of our Patreon, which they can find at patreon.com/pokerpolitics. Anybody who supports us at the $5 and above tier gets access to our bonus content, of which we have a fairly robust slate, including our wrapped up series Kabbalan, Mike Rains' solo outing that has wrapped up The Fella's Deed, where he talked more about JFK, in case you didn't get enough of that on this podcast. And after we're done recording this, we will finally be recording Where We Go One, We Go Squall, our crossover podcast with the Binge-worthy podcast, where we are going to be discussing White Squall, a movie that we all watched. But yeah, so you can get access to all that stuff for $5 or more at patreon.com/pokerpolitics. Now, maybe you have money and you don't want to give it to us. Why? I couldn't possibly imagine. But if you have that money and you want to do some good with it, you can donate it to love146.org. They're an organization whose vision is the end of child trafficking and exploitation, and that is in their own words. So, yeah, if you want to do a little good in the world with a little bit of money, go ahead and donate it to love146.org. As always, we are going to thank DJ Minimal Effort for providing our wonderful intro song. He still remains too cool for social media, so there is no way for me to direct you to him to let your love of his podcast theme be known. But it helps my soul to know that we are shouting him out every week, even though I'm not actually sure if he listens to the podcast. The voice of Q when we need it, and the voice of all of our bumps and our content warning provided by Frosty, who's a voiceover artist that you can find on Twitter at FrostyVO. And if you just can't get enough of me and Sarge talking about Darkman, then boy howdy, I've got some, or Dune. I guess I made a Dune reference. You can find us on the Binge-worthy podcast, where we talk about pop media. You can find that on Twitter at Binge-worthy, at BINGEWORDY. Podcast is available wherever podcasts are provided under the same name. So for another successful episode of the Adventures in HellwQrld podcast, I have been the mysterious L, signing off as always for my co-host, the wonderful Sarge, who I love very much, despite the fact I busted on his Darkman riffs. And as always, which I say way too much, and I'm still doing it, our QAnon expert, Mr. Mike Rains. Godspeed, Patriots!